the craziest shit I've seen ever, I think, happened on the 6th of December. So, Google, I have to give a context to all this. Google is called a DeepMind division, right? Has a generalized artificial intelligence that is called Alpha. So a year ago, there's the Chinese name named Go. You know when they put the pieces, the black and the whites?
Strategic game, yeah.
The strategic game named Go. It was about a year ago. They said that computers cannot beat humans at this because intuition has too big of a part to play because there's too many combinations. So you cannot win by brute force. So they created an AI called AlphaGo. The crazy thing about this is it was not designed in order for the game of Go because it was never taught the game. The point was it was just an AI that would teach itself how to play. And he actually built the world champion a year ago, 4-1, which at the time was seen as impossible. Since then, they decided to attack chess. So there's a chess engine called Stockfish right now, which is rented like 3,400. Just to give you a better idea, an idea about this, Magnus Carlsen is between 2,900 and 3,000. So a 400 plus rating over that is monstrous, right? And so Stockfish is that much better than any human out there. It's actually the world champion of computers. And DeepMind created AlphaZero, which is a fully generalized artificial intelligence, which means it can teach itself. He was given 4 hours to learn chess. So he was not given any endgame table, any openings, any games from any kind from humans or anything. He was just given a chessboard, the rules of the game, and said, go, play yourself. He played itself for 4 hours, right? Then he faced Stockfish. They played 100 games. AlphaZero beat Stockfish 28-0 with 72 draws. It's insane. I've seen the games. The craziest thing is he played in a human way, is the best way you can describe it. Which means he sacrificed material, a humongous amount of material from the beginning in order to gain a long-term advantage and just started squeezing. That's what is called the romantic school of chess, basically. It's a Paul Murphy, the Tal, all those guys that were 100 years ago.
Right.
And he was believed to be wrong because he was just too human to be working. So since Deep Blue beat Kasparov 20 years ago, the idea was you're going to try to win by brute force. You're going to calculate, and the higher the power of calculation, the better you do. So they've been trying to play chess like computers, like Stockfish, right? Trying to calculate further and to win by brute force, trying to calculate which each move is best per situation. Here comes AlphaZero that destroyed Stockfish. And how did he do it? Basically by teaching itself based on what is called reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is basically introduces the idea of you're going to learn what works, what doesn't, and you're going to introduce also randomness into the equation. So how does that work? Imagine you have a mouse going into a maze, right? There's a bunch of wiring holes in the maze, so that's your pluses, but there's cheese at the end. There's a bunch of places where you're going to get zapped if you go into it. The idea is you're going to have an entire scoring system where let's say the wiring hole is a +10, zapping is a -100, and the cheese is a +1000. But the key is the only way you get to the cheese is you're going to have to throw random moves. Because otherwise, all you're going to end up is just going to the watering hole, getting zapped, and going back to the water hole back and forth. So you only learn what is best in the short term, but not in the long term. So the only way you can program that basically is to teach people to do, in that case the computer, to do random shit. And to, no matter if they have success or failure, to forget the situation, just create a scoring system, this worked, this didn't. You forget that and you move on to the next one, move on to the next one, move on to the next one, move on to the next one. You end up with a computer that played like a human being, just an extremely strong human being players.
Right.
So how did it do it? By teaching itself. So the computer taught itself the correct way to learn. There's a name for that, it's called reinforcement learning. It's been around for a while. But if you look at, so everybody's freaking out, right? Because it's an AI and they're like, oh my God, the world is coming to an end. Skynet is coming. What they're not seeing is for the last 100 years, we've been trying to think like machines, right? Which is win by brute force, just go one after the next, just best situation. It's a grind and everything, learn, so the school comes in, say this is good, this is bad, and you learn from there. Here comes a way of learning that is the best one, that tells you that you have to make mistakes. No matter where, if you make a mistake or if it's a success, you have to forget about it, learn the lessons from it and move on.
Right.
You have to try new shit to learn anything. So you have to have a short memory when it comes to success or failure. And you have to go long term versus short term. That's To me, that's basically life, right?
That's all the great minds in history.
Exactly, the human minds. So AlphaZero has proven that being more human is the way to go and not like a computer.
Right.
He has negated 150 years of industrial revolution in the way of don't think like a machine. It is not the best way to go. That's what school teaches you. It's wrong.
So how do you think that will change the game of chess, A,
forever.
and the way we have to teach and think about learning, B?
Chess has changed forever because now they're all looking at it like basically Paul Murphy was right. It is about long-term.
Paul Murphy?
So Paul Murphy was one of the romantic masters, he was like an attacking genius who just plow at people.
Exactly.
Attack.
Oh, absolutely.
So they all said Stockfish refuted those lines because Stockfish defended so well because he could calculate everything and said, see, that's not the way to go.
Defend everything and then.
Yeah, so the problem is Paul Murphy or guys like that would not be strong enough to calculate everything. But here comes AlphaZero. By the way, the craziest thing, AlphaZero was taught how to play chess in 4 hours. They just plug it in, he played itself for 4 hours, destroyed Stockfish. He analyzes 80,000 moves per second. Stockfish analyzes 70 million moves per second. And AlphaZero crushed it, destroyed it, right? Because of the good way to learn. So what is he saying is like Paul Murphy, so the attacking genius, was right. He was just not good enough to go after the defense, right? But AlphaZero could calculate well enough that that continuous squeeze and everything was the way to go. He played with intuition, with long-term goals, didn't care about the point system, only cared about the goal at the end. That's cool for you.
So then he memorized the openings. His strategy in the middle game was very aggressive, forward attacking only, more than defending. And then end game was just...
He thought like he would get into a position that he thought, so he wouldn't even mind sacrificing if he thought the long-term gain was worth it. Like he didn't care about the points we give to pieces. He cared about the position on the board, saying like you can't move. So he was always trying to get space on you. And when he started squeezing, you could not move and then he would crush you. And so he thought that had more value than the point system. Basically, which is exactly what AlphaZero did to Stockfish. If you look at the games AlphaZero won, and there's a lot of them, right? He basically locked Stockfish into a position where he could barely move, and he kept on squeezing. Sacrifice to keep the squeeze. That's almost like it's perfectly played for us romantic games. So now that's chess forever because now all the grandmasters, instead of basing themselves on the Stockfish way of playing, which is fucking grinding, thinking like a computer, that doesn't work like that. They're going to go back to romantic, just better version of it. So we're going back so that all fucking industrial revolution of we have to think like machines just got wiped out, saying no. More human is the way to go. You have to be more creative, more intuitive, just with a better computing power. So you still have to calculate. That's the thing. You can't just throw pieces. You're going to have to calculate. But so it's an arch in itself of exploration versus exploitation. You have a position, you calculate, but you have to explore for a long-term goal. So it's an arch of exploration versus exploitation. That's the basic of reinforcement learning. So the only way you go forward also is you have to learn. By the way, that means you have to teach yourself. You have to understand the principles of a position and not the method, right? Which we've been saying all along. It's about learning from the principles of the lesson of each position, but not remembering the position. That works as well, right? And it goes on and on and on like that. And that's fucking learning.
Yeah. So for people that are listening and have no clue what you just said in the entire 10 minutes, they kind of understood the intuition and the be more human part. But now we can try and relate it back to fitness.
Let's relate it back to fitness. That means the less you know, the less you know. What do I mean by that? I mean when you're not good at something, you're gonna have to throw random shit in. You're gonna have to do more random stuff. So that's probably why CrossFit works well for 2 years and then people start to get hurt. Because now they're getting good enough at CrossFit that you can't stay pure random. Because now you're getting better at it. That means there's a score system. You have to have a point system, right? As you get better, you have your bread and butter stuff. You're still going to have to throw random stuff in it, but less than when you had no idea. That means the less you know, the more random you have to be. So let's say you have poor cardio. You want to do random cardio because you're going to have to figure out what works better, which makes sense, right? By the way, that's how evolution works. It's try to find a way to adapt the best to the situation, and once in a while, throws a random mutation in.
Right.
That's exactly how evolution works. That's the way evolution has learned to move forward. It creates, basically, it's the best species for the situation with random mutation here and there just to see if there's a better way to do things or not.
Right.
So that means, let's say I have no legs, right? That means the way I've been training legs has not worked. That means I'm going to have to implement more random exercises for my legs to learn than I do for my back. My back being as strong as it is, and I know exactly, so I can go, let's say, 10% random, but my legs, I'm going to have to go 50% because it's not working otherwise.
Right.
So that's how you attack the system like that.
So you're saying once you get stuck at a certain weight at deadlifting or whatever, the best way to tackle it is bringing more random stuff in it.
So the conjugate system,
just following a strict template.
the conjugate system, exactly. So that means that when you're not good at something, you can't have a superstructural programming. It's going to have to allow for new stuff to see what works, what doesn't. We know this from life, but the point is there's a scoring system. Like, so you go, like when I do something well, it's a 9. When I do it's -9. But that also means like how you feel about a workout is just a scoring system. Once you've learned the lesson from it, you have to wipe it out. You have to forget the situation existed.
Well, you have to, because who wants to do Fran again? Nobody.
Yeah, exactly. But what happens if you only base that on those benchmarks? Then you just get good at the benchmarks, but you lost so that's a watering hole, right? So you go back to the mouse in the maze, right? If I have decision based on fear, which is most people, that means every time I get a watering hole, I get a point, but every time I go outside, I get zapped.
Right.
What am I going to do? I'm going to stay within the watering hole.
Yeah.
Right, because every time I go out there, I get zapped. I'm like, no, here I'm good, there I'm bad. Why? Because you're basing it on how you feel about that. Feelings are just a scoring system. Emotions are just a scoring system. They're saying, this is a good way to go at it. This is a way that is not even bad, that is just not working. So you try again, but you still have to throw random shit in and every time you get zapped, you go like, that's okay, that was just not the way. What did Edison say? I didn't fail, I just learned 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Yeah. So that's why you just keep hitting the stuff saying that's not the way, that's not the way, that's not the way. But you have to randomly keep shit in to see what works, what doesn't, so you make your way through the maze. But the way you feel about the maze is just a scoring system. It is not the point. The point is not to go for happiness, I'm enjoying this. Then you're going to stay in a watering hole. There's a cheese out there. The only way you get to the cheese is by throwing random stuff, going like, yeah, no, let's keep on trying. You feeling good about it is just a scoring system. It is not the point. The point is to go get the cheese.
As we start to go into relating this to coaching and other fields of fixing people, shall we say, there's a lot of people out there that don't experiment, but they just read books and have the theoretical background. And that's something that I've always disagreed with, and something that I've always said you lead by example. So when I train, I've usually done the workout or I know exactly how it feels to be in that shitty part. So when I'm yelling at people at the seminar, I go, I've been there, man. Like, you are going to feel like death for 45 minutes. It's part of life. But I survived. So I'm here to tell you that you can do it. And
you're telling them, go try yourself.
Right. And so I've seen a lot of people out there that say, I've read the books, just because I haven't done the task doesn't mean I don't know how to coach it. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Then I would disagree. That's Stockfish. I don't disagree. That's what AlphaZero just proved. That's the thing. That's not an opinion. AlphaZero just proved that. What is Stockfish? Stockfish is the PhD that has been taught a certain way to do. The problem with Stockfish is its parents. It's the humans. Right. The humans try to tell a computer how to think. And they fucked it up. Of course they fucked it up because we don't know how a computer thinks, because we're not computers. We told a computer, we taught Stockfish, think like that. Guess what? That was wrong. Right. Now we told a computer, go learn yourself. What did a computer do? He learned the way we do. Why? Because that's fucking evolution. Evolution has been it as 5 billion years. That is the way you learn. Reinforcement learning is the way you learn. It's random mutations to see if there's a better way to do things. So once we let the computer teach, do it his way, what did he do? He learned through experience, not through books. He taught itself the openings, so that's wrong. Like the PhD say, I don't need to do it. By definition, that's wrong. And if you follow the books that means you will never do anything random, you will never learn. That's what AlphaZero proved.
So in the 4 hours that AlphaZero learned chess, did it just play against
itself? That's all.
Okay.
He never played. That's the beauty of it.
So my question for you is, you never just go out there and play. You always take lessons in chess.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to learn to play myself. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I just left it there a little.
Yeah, because I learned the pattern, but that's the problem. Yeah. So what do I like to do though? I like to play tactics.
Like the concrete.
No, but I like to play tactics. Right. That's what I'm good at. Why? Because tactics, it's actually a game. They like find the best mate, and then I'm trying to find the best.
Yeah, because I remember we were on a flight what flight was it? I think we were flying back from Singapore to Amsterdam, and I was sitting next to you. We both had the aisle seats, and you were playing. I think you had 2 pawns and a king, and he had a pawn and a king.
Yeah.
And I saw the mate like 6 moves ago, and you failed it, and you went back and got pissed off, and I was like,
no, but like when you play computer at level 10, trust me, there's always, that's where they're so good at, is they're gonna calculate all the possible ways he can look like a mate, and you'll never get it.
Right.
Because it's that's where the hardest is, the end game against the computer. Oh, you get crushed on that one.
Right.
Okay. So you still need to learn those, by the way. So I'm not saying you can't read books, but I'm saying like the problem is teach yourself.
Yeah.
And random shit. That means if you only trust the books you've read, we're in a religious phase, not a learning phase. Like religion is a science of ignorance. It goes exactly the other way.
Okay, so now that you learned a little bit more about reinforcement learning, what's your best advice for a coach out there or for a gym owner?
So if you want to coach, you're going to have to learn first.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing. And so, what you're going to do with your clients, you're not going to teach them
with Coach Bergner.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key. We have to learn first, and then what we're going to give our clients is not the I'm going to give you the openings. I'm going to teach you to teach yourself. I'm going to guide you into teaching yourself. So we're going to give them knowledge, not information. We've been saying from the beginning.
Back to principles.
And that means you have to make mistakes. That means we're going to explain all people why mistakes are necessary.
I think that's the biggest thing, is the mistakes part, because people start moving forward and then they're afraid to say, hey, this was a mistake. Let's go 2 steps back and start over again. And so they just continue to trudge forward until then it's too late, and then you stay
in the watering hole.
Yeah.
And now you're not going anywhere. So you get stuck, you do something stupid, and you get hurt. Yeah. So that's the thing. But so the danger is we all learn from failure too much, saying, I can't have that. No, you stick around and then you try to see if there's another way out. But then if you're fearless, that's good. But then if you base too much on success, it's the same thing.
Right.
Success and failure is just a scoring system. You cannot, once you've learned the lesson from each, you have to move on. You have to forget you were successful. You have to forget you failed. Right. That's what we're going to tell our people is like, that felt great, awesome. Forget it, let's move on to the next workout, because the next workout might not feel awesome, and that's okay. Right. The problem is people, they feel awesome, they go, that's the goal. No, it's not. It's a scoring system. It's not a goal. So we have to explain to people the difference between success as that's going the right way versus success as a goal, right? No, you feeling good about a workout is not the goal, right? It's going to feel awesome. That's great. That's a reward. That's not the goal. The goal is fitness out there. So some of them won't feel as good because you have to learn to make your own mistakes, because you have to teach yourself.
So you're saying success always lies in the past then?
Always. So that means past has no effect on the future based on the present.
Mm-hmm. So how would you change this to describe it for a more feminine type? Because you keep talking about the goal, but where's the process?
That's the thing with the exactly. That's the thing. So let's look at randomness, right? Yeah. Randomness means you're going to fail. That's the point. So that means, for example, for women, I will reduce the amount of randomness that can cause failure. Right? Whether I would increase it for men, I would decrease it for women. Women, we're going to have to find their bread and butter that they win on. So it's still the imams and everything. And we're going to throw something a bit more random here and there to see if we can find something that works better, right? So it's called epsilon greedy. In reinforcement learning, epsilon basically is short-term versus long-term, right? How much randomness are you going to put? The more randomness you put, the more you are going to our long-term. A lot of people need the short-term gains as well, especially women. They need to win. So that means you're going to have to reduce epsilon. For men, I can increase it because I can make them do more random shit because they don't need to win in the short term nearly as much. Right. That also depends on people. Like if you have a powerlifter and he has a 6 weeks competition, that tells you the closer we are to the competition, the more we have to reduce epsilon, the randomness, right? But if I'm doing something like the balance template, I can keep it very random because there is no short-term goal. It's just about you. It's about finding the cheese. Right. They don't necessarily care as much about the watering hole, they just want the cheese. So let's go get the cheese. But if you're a powerlifter, you have a competition, that's your watering hole on your way to the cheese, then we're gonna have to, so that means we have to change the scoring system based on where they want to go and the amount of randomness we're gonna put per stuff. That means we need more randomness in the templates.
Right.
And especially for beginners, we're gonna have to be more random for beginners than advanced lifters.
Right.
Which we know, but you can't be, even for an advanced lifter, you can't be structured to the point where there is no randomness. Otherwise, it's decision based on fear. You will never go anywhere.
Right.
So we have to teach people to learn.
Yeah.
Before, and then so we have to teach coaches to learn and teach people. So coaching is about teaching people how to learn. It's not telling them what to do, it's telling them how to do it.
Yeah.
Which we've been So we've been saying all this from the beginning. That's why I've been stuck at school. That's why I've done all this. Because as usual, I need to make my own mistakes. But I always say, I don't know, I haven't done it yet.
Right.
Because I cannot know until I've done it. Because I need to teach myself. Because I've always done reinforcement learning to myself. But the games of AlphaZero, people have to watch this. It's the most beautiful thing. Because it's so intuitive. It's just he sacrificed, he moved forward. All the GMs are like, grandmasters are like, oh my God, this is the way they want to play. It's gorgeous to anybody who has played chess. That's the way everybody wants to play. And I think, honestly, it's because the reason we think it's gorgeous is because that's the way evolution works.
Right.
I think that's actually gorgeous is just that. We think it's gorgeous because we see it everywhere. So inside, we know it. Our intuition is telling us this is the way evolution works. Therefore, that's the way we should do things. So it's 5 billion years. That's why.
Right. So you're saying a computer brought back intuition to a game that was played by humans originally?
Yeah, because we started. But why did he start grinding the game?
Smarter than us.
Yeah.
I said that's why it's smarter than
because
us.
It wasn't programmed by us. I think but that is so human right there. So we create computers in our own image, we fuck it up, we take that lesson to fuck ourselves up even more. How human is that? What does that show you on the school system? What the school system has? It has a scoring system that is the goal. The scoring system is not the goal.
We're heading towards this goal.
It's like to get you to the goal. It's not a goal. But now you have a school system that is a goal. You get an A. How do you do? You keep an A. You memorize. What if you do random shit? You get a B. Yeah. So they tell you you suck because you get a B.
But if you have your original idea, you get an F.
Exactly. So now you get a D. So what are they telling you?
Yeah.
To memorize and not. So we're doing to our kids what we've been doing with Stockfish.
Right.
Which is grinding humanity into your machine, and a faulty machine at that. Whereas the machine that teaches itself went back to a creative way of thinking, which is evolution, which is how humans are supposed to do it.
Yeah.
So AlphaZero taught us that evolution it's basically that. So that's why intuition is telling us to be creative, because that's evolution for us. We are moving from God toward evolution. God is dead. I'm going into Nietzsche. Read Nietzsche, they'll get it. Fuck it. As in, the Christian values that we based all those decisions here are dying. We are, instead of going from that religious idea of God that is suffering, where we have to grind and suffering and everything, which is Stockfish, we are going toward looking actually around us, seeing what is evolution. And what evolution is, reinforcement learning.
And you're starting to see it now with a lot of, Google has done a great job with the Google education and everything. And a lot of people starting to come out saying that we need to learn at our own pace. The learning of mastery before you move on to the next subject, the freedom of learning is starting to kind of come forward a lot more. Exactly. I think they say that like 60% of Google employees don't have college degrees. They mostly all come out because
even their top people is 15%, like their executive. This is a huge number. Yeah.
It's much greater. You start to look at, the school system, the Western school system quite a bit. It's not until you're doing your PhD that you truly get to learn what you really love, which I think is such a shame, because that's one of the reasons I never stuck with school is I fucking hated the GE program. I fucking hated it.
I couldn't either. And then the scoring system. You always have a guy telling you suck because you got to be. I'm like, I tried. You know what I mean? Like it's not enough to try.
It's like you don't even want to master it. You get a C, a passing grade, and you're happy with it. Yeah. And it's like you start to learn that you just. Let's be average and let's go get the workforce at 9 to 5.
The best at being average. Yeah. And so, but again, that's Stockfish, right? It's like go learn the openings, go learn this, and just grind your way forward. Learn to calculate, and that's the way forward.
Right.
AlphaZero just said no, that is not. Like AlphaZero just taught us to be more human.
Right.
Okay, so what's one thing that would you recommend a coach to do after watching this? Like probably doing something outside the fitness scope?
Yeah, you're gonna have to look at things a lot differently. Yeah, so my first thing would be like, go learn something random. Honestly, it'll be part of
trying to find the fitness.
So that the answer is none in the fitness books.
Right.
Like the point of AlphaZero is, by the way, that's a generalized AI. That means it was not built for chess.
Right.
That means it's built to learn. It was never built for chess. That means the same AI is going to calculate how to beat everybody at every game.
Right.
The same AI. That's kind of coming, by the way. So the point is, he didn't learn more. He learned better. That more is not better. Better is better.
Right.
So that's the key. Don't learn more shit. Learn better. Learn to learn better. Right. So if you're a coach, you'll find just the smarter you are, the better coach you will be. That's what it means. So go outside of the typical learning stuff and go learn to be a better, go get a better software for your brain. Go get more knowledge in, get a better brain, you'll become a better coach. And that will not be within the fitness industry. Go outside of it.
What are you learning, Greg? How to drink tequila?
A little bit, plus someone forced to do skydiving one day.
Yeah, there you go. That one too.
See?
And that's, I mean, it's not about learning skydiving. It's more about learning how to deal with a new situation, like mixed, obviously mixed emotions and some fear in between.
Right.
But it's actually unnecessary, because once you do it, it's like, all right, I've done it.
Good to go.
But now you've seen that fear is not danger.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is what we do. We think fear is danger. We think success is reward.
Yeah.
And like, not the feeling itself. The action of success is the point, but not the feeling of success.
Right.
That's the danger. Fear is not danger.
Yeah, I fear the danger.
The feeling of fear is, but you don't want to take. That's the thing with the DNF and all that stuff. I'm like, you're dealing with fear, not with danger.
Right.
Like the problem with mobility, for example, right? How do they improve mobility? They trick the body into going further. You dealt with fear, not with danger. You're not ready to put the weight overhead. That's not true. But you dealt with the part of the brain that was blocked by fear.
Yeah.
Don't deal with fear, deal with danger. Don't deal with feeling of success, deal with success.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get stuck in the feeling, just understand the roadmap to get more success. To get more success, you need the randomness, which means you have to accept failure.
Right.
Otherwise you will never. Exactly. But we all know this. It's just now there's actually an equation for that.
Right.
And that computer showed us that what we know as humans is not a weakness, it's a strength. Right. We all think like being intuitive and everything, it's like that things humans do, but it's not a weakness, it's a strength, actually. Right. Go learn poetry, go learn philosophy, go learn history, just get smarter. If you get smarter, you get smarter at fitness as well.
Better.
Yes, just be better.
Right.
More is not better, better is better.
Absolutely.
It's not about more fitness, you just get a better brain and you'll be a better coach. That's what it is. And for fuck's sake, just relate to people.
But can we say, go find the fundamental principles of whatever you want to learn, not just the methods?
Yes. So
there's always that one. Yeah. There was a coach, and he said, "We do pull-ups with the grip closed. Why? Because the guy on YouTube told me." You're like, really?
Yeah. So the point. Then all you're valuing is
a practical example.
Yeah, exactly. But then all you're valuing is a scoring system.
Yeah.
The point is, once you have dealt with a situation, success or failure, you get the lessons out of it, you wipe it out. There's an equation for that. It's called Q learning. You have to wipe out what happened, because otherwise it clogs your memory, basically, like it's too many things. So you get the lesson from it, you get the core essence out of a situation, so the principle, not the method, and then you wipe it out. You read a book about fitness, Louis Simmons, whatever, get
That's the best example you can come up with?
Well, I mean, 5-3-1. How about that one?
There we go.
5-3-1. You get the principle out of it, and you forget you read it.
Exactly.
You get to the next book, you get the principle out of it, forget you read it. Do not go back and go, but it says right here in the book. Then you're fucking it up. That's a religious way of looking at it. Yeah, paragraph 3 says that.
As you're saying about 1,000 books, reading once.
Exactly. So it's not about reading one book 1,000 times. It's about reading 1,000 books one time.
Yeah.
The second you've read it, you get the principles out, because otherwise you're not teaching yourself. You're just memorizing what the guy said. Do not memorize what the guy said. Teach yourself. Get a book, learn from you what you can about it, for you. Go make it away, make it yours, move on to the next one.
Right. I think we see that a lot in our coaches, because everybody that's in our mentor program has the understanding principles, but they
do
present
it
differently.
Exactly.
Which I think is awesome.
I think it's great. That's the point.
It's consistent, but there's no uniformity to it.
They're teaching themselves.
Yeah.
Based on what all the principles are, but they're teaching themselves. We put them in a situation, they get whatever they get out of a situation, move on. So that way it's not, so never believe that I said it because I said it. You're going to take it, try it, test it, see if I'm right or wrong. If I'm right, exactly. Try to disprove it. If I'm right, it's that. If I'm wrong, it's that way. Then you move on to the next situation.
Yeah.
And keep putting random shit in. We have to.
Perfect.
All right.
Closing it up.
Cut.
Time. Tiempo.
Hey.
Zooming in. Should we do some head knots? No, sorry.
We're done, MJ.
We're done.